The Therapeutic Goods Administration says it's unlikely the deaths of 2 New South Wales men from blood clots are linked to the AstraZeneca vaccine. Authorities are continuing to investigate the deaths of the men, one aged 55 and the other in his 70s, who both died just days after receiving the vaccine. To discuss this and the other big stories making headlines today, I'm joined from Sydney by the host of Chris Smith Tonight here on Sky News, Chris Smith, and from the Gold Coast by the host of The Front Page, Peter Gleeson. Gentlemen, good to have you on. Chris, I'll start with you. This is a very sad story. Does this make it harder for the government to boost confidence in the AstraZeneca vaccine?
I think people need to understand that we've gone through the second million jabs really quickly. The first million was slow, very slow. Second million extremely quickly. And so we've got the fatality rate. And let's just understand the facts here, that neither of the latest cases can be connected to the vaccine at this stage. And you can't jump to those conclusions, especially when the one from Sydney is 71 years of age and has also got a lot of underlying health problems. I think what you've got is a ratio that indicates to people, and should indicate to people, that it is extremely, extremely unlikely that you are going to get blood clots. And it is even more unlikely that you're going to be the, fatality that will be part of these statistics. The statistics are on our side to take the vaccine, and people need to get a handle on the numbers and understand that this just falls into line with what happened and what has been experienced in the UK. And that's the main thing. We've got to get vaxxed up. Otherwise, it's a waste of time.
But there is this lack of confidence, I think, growing in the vaccine, Gleeso. Just 40% of AstraZeneca and Pfizer doses supplied to Australia have actually been administered. As the Morrison government seeks to reset the vaccine rollout for over 50s, it has been revealed the total budget for the health response now sits at $7.2 billion. Gleeso, it took us 46 days to get through the first million vaccinations. It's only taken 19 days to vaccinate the second million. Is the rollout finally gathering some pace, or are these cases we're hearing about going to stop people showing up and getting the vaccine when it's their turn?
Put this into context, there's no doubt about that, the risk from having either Pfizer or AstraZeneca and having some form of major side effect or a fatality is incredibly low. However, I am very much of the view that this gives the anti-vaxxers and anyone who is even remotely worried about having the vaccine plenty of ammunition to try and undermine the rollout. And just from a political perspective, I think this is really important because, you know, when you look at the fiscal and the health response in this country, it has been world leading. We are right at the top of the globe when it comes to the way in which we've handled this pandemic. But the vaccination rollout, if we're getting a gold medal for that, we're getting a bronze or even lower for the vaccination rollout. And I've got to say, I am personally concerned about the fact that Australians are seeing these stories. They're leading the news at 6 o'clock. They're doing all that sort of stuff, and it does undermine confidence in the rollout. And that is not a good thing because, as Chris said, we have to get vaxxed up. It is the most important thing you will do this year as an Australian is get vaccinated against COVID.
Yeah, but the reality is that people aren't as gung-ho as health bureaucrats would like them to be. There was some essential polling done that was released this week showing that less than 50% wanted to get the vaccine as soon as possible. 16% said they never wanted it, and an equal number said they wanted to wait. Around 40% said they wanted to wait, and around 40% were keen to get it straight away. And that 16% is quite a sizable number who say we don't ever want it. So yeah, the health bureaucrats and the government really need to figure out precisely what they're doing in that area. But moving along, former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd says he was disturbed by Scott Morrison's comments at a Christian conference on the Gold Coast last week. Rudd, who famously held press conferences outside church and was a mainstay of a parliamentary prayer group, told the ABC's Lee Sales, Australia is a proudly secular country. Have a listen.
The idea that anyone leading a political party could believe that it is, God on our side is just the stuff of real danger, in my view. We are a proudly secular country where people who are agnostics, atheists, Christians, colourthumpians can compete for office in our secular national parliament. That's as it should be.
Oh, Gleeso, what can you say about that man? My gosh. I'll leave it to you.
The hypocrisy... Rita, the hypocrisy just blows me away. I mean, Rudd, as you said, would stand outside churches every Sunday and conduct press conferences. I mean, Morrison is loud and proud when it comes to his faith. He makes no apologies for who he is. He gets out there and does what he does, with his church, the Hillsong operation. And if he believes he's got God on his side, that's entirely up to him. The agnostics of the world, the atheists of the world, that's a matter for them as well. I just find Kevin, seriously, talk about relevance deprivation syndrome. Here's a bloke who, at the peak of his powers, was one of the most popular blokes in the country. And his first couple of years as Prime Minister, he was a very popular man. I was editing the Townsville Bulletin at the time. He was mobbed in malls, in shopping malls in Townsville. But then, for some reason, he lost the plot. He continues to lose the plot. He's a blight on Australian society. I just wish he'd go away.
Rita, can I just jump in there?
On Australian society. That's a bit harsh. Go, Chris.
Isn't it welcoming that a Prime Minister finds strength in his faith so that he's confident in making the decisions that he has to make? I think this gives the Prime Minister a greater standing, and I think those that support their religion or support those that support their religion would turn against Kevin Rudd's comments. Dangerous? Really? Dangerous? He's not part of some kind of cult. And can I just say, it's better that the Prime Minister of the country is influenced by God instead of having a Prime Minister who thinks he's God, which is what Kevin Rudd did.
Well said.
And I can tell you, as an atheist, I'm not offended. Why would I be offended by someone who's a Christian and is open about being a devout Christian? As long as they're not coming into my household and telling me how to live my life, and Scott Morrison has never been that type of politician, then why would anybody find that dangerous or offensive, let alone someone like Kevin Rudd, who's supposed to be a church-going Christian himself? Bizarre, bizarre. Now, let's move to another issue. Dozens of hardened criminals have been spared deportation after being granted second chances by the Administrative Appeals Tribunal. It's hard to say. According to an exclusive report in the Daily Telegraph, a slew of gangsters, thugs and domestic violence perpetrators have been allowed to stay in Australia by the AAT after being ordered out of the country by Immigration Minister Alex Hawke. Chris, the government is looking at changing the rules to make it harder for the AAT to overturn these deportation orders, but is it too little too late? I've been reading about these stories for years now, where you've got rapists and murderers and just the worst people in society allowed to stay here.
You're exactly right. This story has come up almost every 5 years for the past 25 years. I hate hearing the coalition, the likes of Alex Hawke and previous to that Peter Dutton, complain about the AAT and say we're going to crack down on the AAT and their soft approach to those that want to appeal, but they don't seem to do anything about it. Like, seriously, the AAT are the greatest soft touches when it comes to a judicial body of any in the land. And who knows that the most? Visa advisors and refugee advocates. So they say to these people, listen, we can get you through this process. Come with me. We'll just head off to the AAT. It doesn't matter what offence you've committed. We'll give them a sad story about how damaged you are and about how lack of funds you have. And we're even sending them back to the UK, and that seems to be something that's against their safety.
That's apparently...
Seriously.
It's crazy.
Exactly. Even UK, New Zealand, Western countries they can't be sent back to because they've been here for years and they've got links. Well, bad luck. They're not
And
wanted.
Rita.
Chris Smith, Peter Gleeson, thank you so much for your time this evening.
See you later.